You guys, I haven't posted a book haul video on this channel for like 6 months. I think the last one was this past summer when I made that video of me taking a break for like 2 months that ended up being like 4 months. But irregardless, I've collected some books since then, but I haven't collected as much as I might have like in the past. And that is because I've changed my strategy to collecting books. Which books do I want on my shelves? I've become more intentional, in all honesty. I'm collecting books that are in series or books that I think I honestly will want to reread. I love rereading. I am a rereader. And so I want to collect those books as well as like extreme favorites. Like my favorites will stay on my shelf, but honestly, I only have the 2 bookcases, so I have to be choosy, and I'm going to be a little bit ruthless with my shelves come the new year because I just want to get rid of a lot of books. The ones I just am not drawn to anymore, which you can hear all about kind of how my reading has changed in the video where I talk about how I almost quit BookTube. But that is not this video. This video is all the books I've collected in the past 6 months. So hey guys, I'm Angie. If you're new here, welcome. Welcome back to everybody else, all the things. So let's just hop in. Let's hop into all the books that I have collected. Like I said, it's a lot of series books, which you'll see. Honestly, I didn't think I had bought that many books, and I haven't really. They're just big books. So my 2 piles look a little large over here, but it's mostly just big books. Okay, off the top, no particular order, I did pick up this book. So it's The Adventures of Amina AlSharafi by Shannon Chakraborty. So this is the author of the David series, which you will be seeing a couple more books in this haul that have to do with that series. I really enjoyed The City of Brass and I liked her writing style, and so I was curious about this book. It also is described as kind of a pirate book type thing. I'm honestly not totally sure what it's about, but I do tentatively like pirate books. I really enjoyed the Robin Hobb Ship of Magic books, and so I thought I'd give this a try. So it sounds like Amina is a well-known pirate, and she has survived lots of things, lots of stories, and then I'm not sure if she wants to retire or something. Yes, sounds like she wants to retire, but then there is like one more job. So that trope, I just kind of love that like one more job brings them out of retirement and it's this huge job sort of idea. So I think it sounds fun. Also, I like the cover. I think it's really fun and really pretty. So I have that book. Since I've already been talking about S.A. Chakraborty, we'll talk about these 2. So these are book 2 and book 3. I think this is book 2. Book 2 is The Kingdom of Copper, and book 3, it could go the other way, is The Empire of Gold. So these books continue the story of Narhi as she is in I think it was 18th century Cairo, and she was, I believe, kind of a con artist, an orphan on the street, if I'm remembering my reading of The City of Brass correctly. And then, due to a turn of events, she ends up summoning a Jinn warrior named Dara, and she shouldn't be able to do that, and then he kind of learns some things about her, and he realizes he needs to bring her to the City of Brass, or kind of the magical city, right? And so he has to bring her there, and things happen along the way, and they learn some more stuff about her. And even when they get to the city, there's a lot of politics going on and complicated matters, especially with the current ruling family of the city, and the story goes from there. It was really good. It ended in just a very intense fashion. My gosh, it was so intense that I just still remember that scene, that I want to pick up these books. And that's actually my plan for, I think, like this upcoming spring, maybe February and March, I want to read these 2 books. Okay, this is a really random one. I picked this up in a free library. And so it's Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. I'm not sure if this is a romance, which I try to stay away from romances because they just, for the most part, they fall flat. But I remember that this has something to do with science, which I have my PhD in science. I love science. And so I wanted to read this book. Okay, I'm still not quite sure what it's about, but I know it's very popular, has science in it, and kind of women in science, which is definitely something I enjoy. Okay, and so this is a book that my sister gave me. She is the best. She often gives me books, and so I really appreciate that. And so this is The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Rochni Chachny. So I've heard a lot about this book, especially since it was one of the Goodreads Choice Awards, because I do follow those just because sometimes I don't know about these books, and this one sounded interesting for everybody that ended up reading it. It sounded kind of like a dark fairy tale story of a marriage gone wrong, kind of. It's more about the secrets kept between the husband and the wife basically, I believe, tells him he can't ask about her childhood, but then for some reason she has to go back to, I think it's like her aunt's house or something like that, her childhood home, and he comes with her, and then he learns about her past. I don't know, but it's a very pretty edition, and I think that would be perfect for like the fall. Another book she gave me, which maybe I'll just do those ones, is she gave me this one. This is really heavy. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize it was so big. Okay, so this is Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff. I haven't read any of his books. I know he's a really prolific author, and I just haven't picked up anything from him, and I'm just curious about his writing style. So I'm not 100% sure what this is about, but I know it's about vampires. Yes, I do. But it sounds like it's about this man, or at least it's told from the point of view of this man who was called a Silver Saint, or he's a sworn brother of the Silver Order, who are dedicated to like fighting back the vampires, basically. I'm not quite sure exactly how that works, but I think this is a book where he tells his story of how that happened. So I know there's a second one coming out next year, and so I'm interested. This is really big though. So all of these books, most of these books are very big, but let's move on. Oh, okay. I'm so excited about this book, you guys. I'm so excited. I'm currently reading the second book in this series, the Rook and the Rose series. This is by M.A. Carrick, and this is the Labyrinths Heart. I'm like 100 pages from finishing that book, and I'm loving it. I'm loving the characters. And so the series as a whole is about this girl named Ren, who's a con artist who is brought back to her hometown of Nadezhra, and she wants to run this really long con, basically, on one of the noble houses, and she wants to infiltrate them and pretend to be one of them, basically, in order to kind of get money and get out of town, sort of idea. But she gets pulled into all of the politics and all of the things, and that's really part of what I love about this, is there's just a lot of complexity to the world and the different factions or the different people groups, the different types of magic and how those are all used. So I wouldn't say this is a very beginner level fantasy. Even though I wouldn't say I'm an advanced fantasy reader, I just had to pay a lot of attention to this because I was really enjoying it. I was finding the complicated world to be enjoyable. I like all the reveals, so I'm really excited to pick up this third and final book, which I hear ends the series really well. So I'm stoked for that. Another series I'm in the middle of, which you'll hear about, I guess, in my December wrap-up, because I'm also reading this book here. I'm actually listening to it on audio, so I'm so glad this actually came in the mail so I can read it physically and on audio. But it's the Atlas Paradox by Olivia Blake. And so this is the second book in the Atlas 6 series, and I'm really enjoying it. It's about this group of kids, young adults, who have been selected for their magical abilities and their just unique talents to become a part of the Society of Alexandria, I think it's called, where in the first book they have to kind of compete against each other for the 5 slots. So one of them won't make it, sort of idea, and so you really get to know them as characters. You get to see them kind of make alliances and form friendships, and then you get to see kind of the overarching plot near the end of that first book. And I was really excited when I read that because it just intrigued me, and I'm enjoying the continuation in this book. And also the third one does come out next year. Next book, actually the next 2 books, are books that I was inspired by the Goodreads Choice Awards again. And so this is Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare, and I do laugh that her name is in bigger print than the title of the book. Fair enough, whatever. Anyway, I did pick up some of her Shadowhunter books earlier this year, 2023, and I'm enjoying the ride. They're not the most well written, and they definitely have some YA tropes, especially that first series. Oh my gosh. Anyway, that's not what this is about, but I have heard good things about this, and I did enjoy the world she was building in those Shadowhunter books. And what I understand this to be is it's more of a book that follows a man who is like the personal bodyguard of a prince of some sort. I think. Yes, Kel, an orphan. He becomes a sword catcher or the body double of the royal heir, Prince Connor Aurelian. And what I have heard is that the character setup is really good. And I really appreciate that. I feel like those kinds of books, though they could be boring to other people, they're not to me. I like a really solid setup and character building. And so I think I'm going to like this. And I believe it is the first in a series. I mean, she likes series, so I'm assuming it's the first in a series. Okay, the other book that was Goodreads inspired is The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. So Mark Lawrence, I've heard his name before. I feel like the Red Sisters or something like that, but those series just didn't seem all that interesting to me. I might eat my words and read them later, but this premise sounded really good. I really do love books about books, especially books about like magical libraries, right? Which is what this book is about. And I actually don't know more than that. All right, I'm not quite sure still what that's about. It sounds like we're following 2 main characters, a boy and a girl, and something to do with a magical library. So I'm looking forward to this. even though I don't quite know what it's about. So there's that one. And then some Book of the Month books. So I did get a couple boxes. I often skip Book of the Month, but I've been enjoying some of their selections, and this one just sounded really good. So it's What the River Knows by Isabel Abens. I'm not quite sure how to say that, but what I've heard about this is that it's a YA fantasy book, and it's being explained as like The Mummy meets Death on the Nile, which I love. Death on the Nile, the Agatha Christie book, and I love movies, action adventure movies like The Mummy. And I also think it is historical fantasy, which I'm finding that I do like. So it's about this 19th century girl in Buenos Aires. She has kind of these archaeological type parents who always leave her behind, and then she receives word that they have been tragically killed, and she has inherited a huge fortune, and then she sets sail to Cairo to figure some things out. So I don't know, that just sounds really fun. Like, just a very good distracting book. And then I picked up this one because I'm going to be reading this with my sister, along with a lot of these ones. We do kind of a monthly buddy read system, but we're reading this one, Blood SisterScribe by Emma Torres. And this is another book about libraries, I think. So this is about half-sisters who are in charge of guarding the family's library of magical books, and they must work together to kind of unravel a deadly secret. That's how it's described. I've heard wonderful things from most everybody who's picked it up. So maybe I'll just read these two books in the same month and maybe make a blog out of it, because I just really do love books about books. Another one I picked up from Book of the Month was Divine Rivals. And this is by, what's her name? Rebecca Ross. It's very popular, a very popular book. But again, it's a historical fantasy, which I'm finding I really enjoy. It's about these two rivals, like a man and a woman, who are working at this column, the Oath Gazette, and they're 18 years old, okay, so they're not too old, but it is in a war setting, but a war of the gods. So I've heard it described where it kind of feels like a World War II book, but yet with fantastical elements, and that these two are competing against each other. But yet the woman Iris, her brother, is, I think, a part of the war, so it's very personal to her to be kind of involved in, I think, war correspondence, maybe. So I did pick up this book, No One Can Tell by Kate Alice Marshall. I've been wanting to pick up one of her thriller books. Now, I don't typically buy thriller books, but this is one of the book club picks for Gwen's Patreon, and I'll link her channel down below. She's wonderful here on YouTube, but I go to her channel and joined her Patreon because I really like a lot of her thriller recommendations, and this is the book we're reading in February, so I don't even know what it's about. Okay. It says 3 sisters, 2 murders, and too many secrets to count. I like that this is about sisters. I really do usually enjoy books about sisters. It says the sisters left their home in Arden Heights and they've never returned. But Emma discovers she's pregnant and her husband loses her job, and so it sounds like they're all kind of going back to the same place. Maybe. I also don't like to look at blurbs for thriller books too closely, so I don't want to read too much more than that. Okay, another one. This, I think, was from my sister, and so it's Kaik by Vaishnavi Patel. I think it sounds right. Okay, it sounds like she is a princess, and that's what I've actually heard, is that this story spends a lot of time on kind of her childhood, so a classic retelling. But it sounds like her father's not very good. He banishes her mother, and then she starts to want independence, and she finds like a book, magic maybe, and she is able to transform herself, and she becomes more of a warrior, diplomat, and less of an overlooked princess. Last book is the 4th book in the Jen Lyons series, A Chorus of Dragons, and this is The House of Always. I'm going to reread The Chorus of Dragons this year because I feel like, kind of like the Rook and the Rose series, Mask of Mirrors being the first book, it's a little bit of a complicated book and a complicated series, and the more you remember the previous books, the better the sequels are. And I do remember bits and pieces, so my goal for 2024 is to start that series back over, and this is the 4th book of 5. So I haven't picked up the 5th one yet because they're chunky books and it'll probably take me a while to get to this one, but I'm really excited to get to it. And generally speaking, it's about this boy named Kieran who grew up outside of kind of the noble houses and then finds out he's like the bastard son of one of the important houses or something to that notion. And then he also finds out that there's more about him that other people are interested in. And it goes from there, and I realize I can't give you a very good explanation because it's a very complicated book, but I do love complicated books. And so I'll be rereading the whole series, but that's the 4th one I wanted to pick up. So those are the books I've picked up over the past 6 months. Let me know what you think of them. Let me know if you've read any of them, if you're interested in them. I would Love to hear from you guys. But otherwise, that's my last book haul for 2023. Oh my gosh, you guys, I can't believe it's almost 2024. I'm excited for my reading plans for 2024. I hope you are too. But if you like this little book haul, feel free to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to. And otherwise, you guys, I'll see you in the next book video. All right, take care. Bye.